Yo, what is crack-a-lackin', Ridge Runner Nation? Welcome back to another Ridge Runners live show. Tonight, we have a very special guest on the show. Our guest is the race director for Upstate Ultras, a coach at Without Limits, and the co-owner of Go Green Events. We are excited to talk to him about all of his races in 2021. He's got 9 wins on his Ultra sign-up page, coming to us all the way from South Carolina. Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, Matthew Hammersmith. How's it going?
How are we doing, guys? Thank you guys so much for bringing me on. I can't believe I have 9 wins on Ultras. I can't believe they actually leave me on there. I'm surprised they haven't kicked me off yet. So. That's awesome. Cool. Well, how you guys doing?
We're doing really well. We're super excited to chat with you tonight. It's going to be an awesome show, and we're about to dive right into it. For those of you that don't know, my name is Wesley Harton, and joining me tonight is the man who came across Froggy Falls on the latest Road to 100 video, JD3, John Delaki III. How are you?
Wesley, I am doing good this evening. Work was a really long day for me today, and I'm very excited to just sit down and talk about running. Nothing like a good way to refresh yourself for that. This evening,
did you run in?
I did not yet. I will do that afterwards. I started work at like 7 this morning, and I literally just stopped like 15 minutes before I jumped on this chat. This evening, we're going to do our favorite activities here. I'm drinking a Jackie O's Cool Beans because I need both that coffee and that alcohol at the same time. So that's what I'm rocking tonight. As a reminder, I'm in the chat this evening, so go ahead and shoot your chat questions over, and I'll get them onto the show. Wesley, what are you drinking?
Well, I want to start off with Matthew. This guy's an awesome drink here. It's a mug. Like, this thing was awesome.
I was saving the best for last.
I'm drinking out of my Upstate Ultra beer glass, but so I was born in Ohio. I was raised in Indiana, but I met the love of my life and my heart in Michigan, where I really found running. So I am drinking a Michigan beer, a Two Hearted Ale by Bell's. It's my second favorite beer right now. Pernicious is really good. I was going to go with that, but I'm going to stick with my heart, and that's Michigan right now.
Can't fault you for that. I mean, as an Ohio State fan, I do kind of not like Michigan that much, but
no, I'm a Buckeye. No, dude, I'm born in Ohio. I'm a Buckeye. I went to Eastern Michigan, FFMU. Like the Wolverines, they suck. No, yeah.
There we go. I just wanted to clear the air here.
Yeah, clear the
air. We get too deep. I got the Jackie O's Mystic Mom of the other Jackie O's. As you can tell, big Ohio guy, big Athens, Ohio guy. I got my OVRC shirt on, my little Athens pillow behind me there. So it's going to be an awesome night. Matthew, I want to start off by getting to know you a little bit more. So obviously you run ultras, you're a race director, you kind of super passionate about the sport. Kind of take us back to how you first kind of fell in love with the sport of ultra running.
I mean, so ultra running, it was almost maybe a mistake. Who knows? I was actually coming off an indoor track season, unaffiliated. I just graduated Eastern Michigan, and I was coaching the high school level. I was assistant volunteer coach at Eastern Michigan, where I went to school at. And I was training for a 5K, trying to break 15 again as an old guy. And my buddy, I was doing like, 60, 70 miles a week. And my buddy goes, hey, we're doing this race down in Ohio. It's called the Green Jewel 50K. And I looked at him and I'm like, 50K, like, okay, 3.1 times 10, carry the one, whatever. And that's 31. I'm like, no way, I'm not doing 31 miles. It's not happening. And I signed up like that night. And I'm like, what the hell is an ultra? So I started YouTubing like just 50K stuff, like ultra stuff. And he drugged me out to it. And I really feel bad about this, but I bought a jacket at TJ Maxx. It was a Marine Corps marathon. I never even run a marathon yet, but I was wearing the jacket and I'm running, and some guy like noticed the jacket and he said, oh, dude, Marine Corps, I did that a couple years ago. I'm like, I didn't do it. It was cheap it was like $10 at TJ Maxx. And they all had hydration vests and backpacks and bottles and all this stuff. And I go, what the hell are these guys carrying in their hands? We get to the first aid station, this 50K, and I was like 9 miles. I do 16-mile long runs. It's fine. Just blew past them, and ended up bonking it. Like, well, actually, I almost shit my pants. Can I curse? I almost pooped my pants at 22, and I ended up getting to the marathon, and I'm like, I had no food, no water. I'm shoveling goo and water and Coca-Cola in my mouth. I'm bonk walking the last 5 miles, and then this photographer's like, dude, you're doing great, but there's one guy behind you, and I'm winning the race like right now. I turn around and I'm like, oh my gosh, this guy's just barreling down my back. sprint the last 5 miles, end up winning, I think in, I don't know, 3:20 for that Green Jewel race. And I was hooked. I was like, that was the worst, best thing I had ever done. And I want to do it again. So the next couple of weeks, I did a couple marathons and then a 50-miler. Then I attempted the Burning River 100. I dropped out of, I think it was 62 or 63 miles. But after that, I was like, I love ultra. So that was my story. So Ohio really got me into ultra running for me. So, for better or worse, I'm it's my heart.
That's crazy. I mean, so your first race, you go out there, you no idea like what a 50K distance is.
Not a clue.
And you go win the race. I mean, obviously having that emotion, like obviously it's going to propel you forward into your career. What was it kind of like? I mean, obviously you kind of jump-started your career, but like, what was it like to kind of like be like, wow, okay, I just actually won this race. I need to go attack a bunch of different things.
I didn't really know what I wanted to know what I was doing, but two, after the race was over, Jay Smithensberger was second. We both set the course record. We beat Michael Pope's record from 2 years before. So all I didn't know who was who in the world. I still don't even know who's who. But Jay's like, man, that was an incredible time. And he was pissed. He's like, dude, you ran an amazing race. Why didn't you? But he's like, I'm so pissed that I just beat the record and got second place. So he's like, and from there, I'm like, all right, so like, what do I do next? And so it's humbling. Like ultra, you don't get too high on the highs or low on the lows in ultra running and trail running. You just kind of, you do what you show up and do what you can do on that day. And I tell people all the time, being naive in the sport of running sometimes could be your benefit. Having showed up and having done a lot of long runs at like 6-minute pace, I was actually comfortable running the first 10 to 15 miles with those guys at 7:20 pace. I'm like, oh, this is easy. But then obviously as you get longer and longer, and I kind of kept getting faster and faster, you learn to respect the distance because when I hit mile 25, 26, I was like zombie-eyed. I'm like, what am I going to do? I can't feel my legs. It was horrible. So yeah, it was like 3 inches of snow on the ground, but it was a beautiful day. So I think Joe Juzwick put that race on back in the day. I don't know if they're still doing that one or not, but that was my first 50K, and I wish I could go back I want to go back and do it again, to be honest. I just remember when I finished, they had like 50 pizzas out on the table, and I just grabbed one box of pizza and then sat over by the fire and ate the whole pizza. I just sat there for like an hour.
So obviously you're as a race director now. I mean, when you were running those races back in the day, did you ever like have the idea like, hey, maybe I'll become a race director? Or did you notice things at certain races like, hey, this is something I really like about this race, I'm going to use that in the future?
No, I think at the time, I think at the time, and I still am to this day a little bit, I was really selfish. I was like all about kind of personal gain, like how can I run faster? Can I compete? Can I get to the next level? So after that happened, I literally signed up for the Burning River 100, which was the national 100-mile championship. I barely did a 50K, and I'm like, oh, I can do the national 100-mile championship. So that story got even crazier because I went out and I tried to lead that race for the first 25, 26 miles. And we were running, I think we went through the first marathon in like under 3:20. It was an incredible pace. And we got to the marathon aid station. Well, before we got there, there was a first aid station, and those guys stopped. And I'm like, well, I've been here before. Maybe I should just keep on going. But I just kept plugging along. I had a crew at this time, so I was kind of a little bit more versed on crew and aid stations and water and all this stuff. But we actually got to the third or fourth aid station, and there was nobody. Some guy was pulling in and trying to set things up, and we were beating the aid station people to their checkpoints because we were moving at such a clip. And the guy's like, I'm like, which way do I go? He's like, just go down the trail this way. And I took off, got lost, and it was a long way. And he came sprinting down after me, and so that's why my race ended at like 62 or 63. Connie Gardner was there, and she passed me like right at a 100K mark, and she just patted me on the back, and she goes, "Better luck next year, kid." And I just felt so sorry for myself. And but no, I was hooked. So I thought I was going to be a high level competitor. So I was very into my own world. So I did the Tussey Mountain Back 50. And just kind of got into that whole world. But once I moved down south, it was more about how can I connect with the community? How can I give back? How can I get more people out on the trails? So yeah. So I think at the beginning, I never thought of myself as a race director. I thought of myself as a runner that I wanted to make it. And I still do, but it's more, I'm more about how can I get back to, where I'm at right now.
Awesome. Was that like first mental, like, I want to become a race director, part of like the moving south part, or what inspired that? What was like your desire for that?
No, I was going through, personal life stuff when I was living in Michigan, Ohio. And then, and I knew I needed, just mental health reason. I got to get out of town. So I moved down south, and I knew one person, and her boyfriend, they're now married. They had a lease that was going to be up in a couple of months, but they were already moving out to Charleston. Hey, you can crash on our couch and make your way. If it doesn't work out, you can always go back. I was living with my grandfather at the time in a single out trailer, and I said, hey, Grandpa, I'm gonna move down south, and I'm gonna see what I can do. Moved down there, and I had no friends, I had no money, so all I did was run and eat ramen noodles. And I got in really good shape, so I just signed up for 5K, 10K, half marathon, and I was just winning. And I was like, who in the heck is this, Matt Hammersmith guy? And so I kind of made a name for myself as a runner. And then I'm like, well, when the summer kind of hit, all the races basically just stopped happening because it's so hot down here. So I'm like, well, I just moved down here 3 months ago. I don't know anybody, and I'd like to continue this coaching. I was kind of coaching a little bit, this coaching running mentality. So I'm like, well, maybe I should put on my own race. And I put on the first annual Knock on Wood relay. It was actually called the Without Limits running festival. And I did a kids run, a 5K, a 25K. I'll show you how stupid I am putting on my first race. A kids run, 5K, 25K, 50K, 100K, a 24-hour run, and a 100-mile team relay. So I put in 7 races in one weekend, not knowing what I was doing. About 250 people showed up, and we had the time of our lives. But I was so scatterbrained. What the heck just happened? And but afterwards, I just remember meeting so many people. I said, "This is it. Like, I want to do this again. Like, we're definitely doing it next year. And then where else could I go? Oh my God, there's Paris Mountain State Park, Table Rock State Park, Oconee State Park. I mean, there's all these beautiful places to run at down here in the foothills, and it just kind of snowballed, and from there, yeah."
Obviously, that's a pretty epic first experience coming a race director, 250 people, 7 different events there.
I lost money, by the way. I think I charged like 10 or 15 bucks. And that's why people were like, oh, I'll do a 100-miler for 15 bucks. And I was like making the awards and like, cheer them in my, my kitchen. It was a madness. It was horrible. But I just knew if I could bring people together, something special was going to happen. And it did. So
I think a lot of race directors won't. I mean, I feel like a lot of them are afraid to say, try that. Because I feel like, losing money first year, like a lot of times it's just about learning when you're starting off as a race director, yeah. I believe. And so what are the kind of lessons that you learned from that first event, even as this was super successful, but what are some things you kind of learned in that first event?
So as a community, and, every race director has a core group of volunteers or just community of support. You cannot direct a race on your own. You just can't do it. So what I realized is I didn't know anybody, but after that weekend, I knew tons of people. And it was funny because I was running a bunch of races, like I was saying, winning races, trying to get my name out there. And I did this race directed by Tim Shelna at Bosch Manufacturing. And I went and I ran it and I won it. But the top place female was this like she's Shannon Howell. I don't know if you've heard her name, but she ran the race, and her husband just tapped me on the shoulder and said, "Hey man, like I know you do some coaching for Without Limits. My wife, she needs some coaching. You got to coach her." And so I started talking to him about it, and I said, "Well, hey man, like I'd love to talk to her. Have her come volunteer at one of my races. I got a race coming up like next week. I've never done it before. Like I would love some help." So she signed up to volunteer at 4 a.m. because she's a true ultra runner. She signed up to volunteer at 4 a.m. to like 8 a.m. She shows up at 4 a.m. I am zonked out of my mind trying to watch these relay runners and 100-milers. And it was a 2-mile loop. This is a stupid 2-mile loop race. So she shows up. I said, "Shannon, nice to meet you. I've seen you at the last race. I'm going to bed." So I went to go sleep. And I woke back up at like 8 a.m. and she's got all taken care of, and it's fine. And I was like, that's a cool thing. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, obviously Shannon, one of the top ultra runners on the East Coast. I think everyone kind of knows her name and kind of what she's accomplished. It's kind of a super neat story there. Kind of how did you transition, obviously, to start adding more races and eventually kind of develop into Upstate Ultras?
Oh, from there. So after that race, I was like, well, so me and my wife, we actually got married at Paris Mountain State Park, and that was my first. So that was my first actual trail run. I got hooked up with John Bruno and Dane Simmons at Running, which is a local running store here. And they're like, hey man, we're gonna go do this run next Saturday. You should come join us at Paris Mountain. I'm like, well, cool. Like I've been just running the roads here. Like I'm a road runner at heart. Like don't kill me for it. I love the roads. I love the track. But they invited me out to this Paris Mountain road race, or Paris Mountain road run. And so I got there and we kind of got off the road and got onto the trail, and then we started just climbing Sulphur Springs, and it's going up and up and up. I'm like, holy crap, this is amazing. And so that fall, I was like, we should do a race here. And so I contacted the park and I'm like, hey, I know you guys have like one or two other like 6K, 7K races. Can we do like a 50K, 50-mile race? And they're like, yeah, sure, it's fine. And that got started. And then I'm like, well, maybe we should do another. It literally just snowballed because I enjoyed meeting new runners and providing just an opportunity for the community in general.
I think a lot of race directors have like one race, especially maybe it's an early race that they kind of like resonate with. There's one that's like more special to their heart. If you had to pick one out of like all of your races, which one did you think that would be?
Man, I'd like to say like I was in, probably my first one. It was called the Without Limits Running Series. We changed it to the Knock on Wood. And I only say that because we've had so many like inspirational stories. And that's probably one of my I've got like 500 people signed up for that race, but that's one of my bigger trail races. And it's a festival. It's a running festival. We've got a relay, a 100-miler, a 50-miler, a 50K, and a 10-mile race, all kind of wrapped up in a single weekend. And I think it's special because we've had so many inspirational people there. I mean, geez, you go back to Tito was a runner of ours. He broke the world record for running 100 miles with a gas mask on. You might have seen some of the videos, the photos on our Facebook page. Brian, we actually had a guy named Brian Wagner. He had a heart attack. He died on our course for like 10 minutes. He was dead. He was like, his heart was not beating. And some guy comes out of the trail and says, hey, there's a guy passed out down here. And I'm like, oh, geez. Grab my phone, I run down to and luckily it's a 5-mile loop here. And he literally passed out 100 meters into the trail. So I grab my phone, I run in 100 meters, and I look at him like, that guy passed out. He's dead. Call 911. I sprinted, and I just bought an AED like 2 weeks earlier. Sprinted back to my truck, grabbed the AED. Some guy sees me sprinting by, and I'm panicking, almost like crying here. And he's like, what's going on? I said, there's a guy, I think he's dead. Like, he's not, there's no heart rate. He's not breathing. And grab the AED. He follows me. He's like, oh, I'm a 30-year like ER nurse. I'm like, okay, I'm in good hands. We get down there and hook him up and shock him once, nothing, shock him twice, nothing. And I'm about to cry. I'm like, we're about to kill this guy. We got to be dead. Third time, shocked him. This guy comes to life, and I'm freaking out. And the next EMS shows up. They inject him with adrenaline. He's not good to go, but he's living, I guess. Take him to the hospital. The guy walks out the next day, and he calls me that afternoon. And he goes, "Hey man, I'm coming into town next week. Do a checkup. Like, you want to go out for lunch?" I'm like, "Hell yeah, dude! You were just dead like an hour ago." Like, let's do this. So, knock on wood is definitely my favorite. It's close to my heart. Like, it's just, it's not a scenic route. It's not a point to point. It's not a, cruel whatever. It's just, it brings people together that you don't see very often. And when you have loop courses, you see them more often. And that's what makes that race special. That's what makes loop racing special, in my opinion, is that you can, you see people, and that's what it's all about. I mean, I love good scenes, but I like to train up at Mount Mitchell and all amazing places. But when I'm racing, I want to hang out and see people,
Yeah, that is, I mean, hopefully, I mean, that's a crazy experience to kind of have as a race director. And, I bet there's a billion other race directors who hope they never have that experience. But the knock on wood race is set to take place on April 23rd and 24th this year.
Yeah.
Are there still spots available in that race for this upcoming year?
I think there's like 5 or 6 spots left in the 50K, a few spots left in the 50 mile or 100 mile. I mean, there's like literally 15, 20 spots left. And that's because that race got canceled. It was full last year. It was one of the first races that I had to cancel last year. And so some runners have been responding like, hey, I can't do it this year, family, travel, another race, whatever. So, yeah.
So yeah, hopefully by the end of this episode, that sells out for you down there.
Yeah, I'm going to see people that I haven't seen all year at that race, and it's always a good time. So.
Talking about people you just kind of saw recently, talk about the race you had a couple of weekends ago. I think it was 2 weeks back now. Kind of talk about like what it was like, kind of obviously being back in the racing atmosphere and kind of having the megaphone out and kind of doing the race director duties and kind of just how that whole experience went for you.
So yeah, we obviously when the pandemic hit, we just didn't have any information. So we knew we didn't know anything. So we're like, all right. March canceled, April canceled, May canceled, half of June was canceled, and I found some athletes that I coached. They own some private, forced farmland, and let's put on a couple of races. And then when June kind of rolled around, like all of this information, you're highly not going to get it when you're outside. All these informations and everything is conflicting now. I'm like, well, you know what? I'm going to start putting on races again. And so we were full forged ahead all of June, July, and August, whether it was a good thing or a bad thing, whether you hate it or you don't. That was my choice, and I allowed my participants to make their own personal choice, whether they wanted to sign up or not. So we had this past couple of weeks, we had the Snowbird Challenge, which is kind of like the Carolina Reaper. So very unique style race. It's literally it's a 2.62 mile loop, and you get 45 minutes to the loop. If you finish early, you get more time to rest. If you finish late, you obviously get less time to rest. And it really is, there's a 50K, a marathon, a half marathon, a ruck division, and then a little short 5 mile division. And yeah, we had a blast. It's kind of just a winter version of our Carolina Reaper that a lot of runners do both. They do the harder, hot Carolina Reaper, and then they do the Snowbird cold. It wasn't that cold. It was like 45 degrees. It's probably not out like Utah. It's probably like 15 degrees out right now. So, but yeah, I love doing it, and I think there was definitely a need for runners to have an outlet. I know what I felt like personally in April and May when the pandemic hit, and I was running a lot, but I didn't see anybody. And I suffer like many runners do from, whether it's seasonal affective disorder or just some sort of hormonal disimbalance or mental illness. It just, you have to have an outlet or a release. And we wanted to provide that for our runners. So we were just full steam ahead for all of our races.
Yeah, that's great to hear. And one thing that I'm kind of curious about is when you were obviously not a ton of races were going on, a lot of races came back late in the year last year, but did you see a lot of road runners kind of making that transition to the trails? Because they're like, obviously no big city marathons can kind of go on. And if so, what was that kind of like having that different dynamic at your races?
Yeah. So I think, and we when I say the word road runners, that phrase, sometimes I give it a bad connotation. I am at heart a road runner. Like I love to run on the roads, but I find peace when I'm running on the trails. So this past 6, 7, 8 months, when all of these road races, so what happens at road races, it's 500 plus, 500 people in a downtown center, and it just, enclosed areas. It just doesn't work. But when you take 250 to 300 people out in the middle of the woods, it's a much more safe environment. You're safer at one of my races than you are going to shop at Home Depot. And I shop at Home Depot all the time. I go in and this place is a madhouse. So when I'm referencing road runners, and for the first time, it's amazing what happened this past 6 months is my races actually started growing, and I'm like, oh, holy crap! Like, this is it's a good problem to have, but I don't know how to manage it. And I realized a lot of them had no idea. I was getting so many emails like, "Hey, where's the start line? What do I do? they're just like asking me questions. Like, they just didn't understand the trail and ultra world. So like I'm now walking them through my videos and my emails. Like, hey, it's your first time ever running a trail race, whether it's 8 miles or 80 miles. You need to have that. You need to have some sort of vernacular that helps newbie runners enter the sport, because I personally believe that and there was a 90s boom of like road 5Ks and marathoners. I think there's going to be a boom of trail runners moving forward that is going to benefit all race directors and just all state parks and local parks and trail systems and just nonprofits all across the U.S. So I'm hoping that I have been able to guide in a positive manner in that sense. But yeah, we have so many new road runners that have never done a trail race that were like, hey man, my race got canceled last week or last month, or hey, I haven't done a race since April of last year. I want to do a trail race. What do I need to know? And I'm like, oh, just do what I did. Don't know anything and just show up and make all the mistakes you could possibly make, and then learn from them. That's kind of what I did. So yeah.
Love it. We got our first couple chat comments, questions coming in tonight. Everyone seems to be talking about the Table Rock race, and Eric Anderson specifically asked what it's like. What would you expect there, and when is it?
So the Table Rock race is March 6th and 7th, 7th and 8th, something like that. It's like the first, I can't really remember.
6th and 7th.
6th and 7th. I have so many races. Don't ask me when stuff is. So what I would say about that is, we really tried this year. So Table Rock State Park, there's actually 2 Table Rocks. There's one in North Carolina and one in South Carolina. Brandon Thrower puts on an epic North Carolina 50-mile and 50K version. We just have a 25K, 50K version of the South Carolina Table Rock State Park, and it's nestled into the foothills. And this year, we actually tried to get permits to make it a single loop 50K course out to Sassafras, which it would have hit the tallest mountain, the second tallest mountain, and the third tallest mountain all in one loop. It's a beautiful course, but couldn't get the permits this year. So now we're just kind of doing the same 25K loop twice. I've done that course, and I would, to be honest, I always tell people this, like, I love Table Rock is my favorite race to direct. One, the state park pass, it rolls out the red carpet. They're just so helpful. And the views are amazing over at the Ball and over at Table Rock Overlook. But I would never sign up for the 50K. I would always do the 25K. One loop is enough on that pool. Shannon Howell, she might admit to this, but I'll tell it, all over YouTube. She was like, she did the 50K 3 years in a row, and she won every single year. And on the third year, she was like, I got up to the tallest point on the second time, and I was just crying. I'm like, I don't want to do this anymore. It's a course, it just chews you up, man. Like, I think a lot of people from out west, there's a lot of elevation. You're at higher elevations and you climb a little bit higher, but I think it's more maybe gentle climbing. Man, the East Coast can chew you up and spit you out. Like, you can find some vertical spots really quickly in a short amount of distance. So I think that's kind of what happened with a lot of our runners, is that when they show up for the first time to do the 25K, they're like, nah, I'm sticking to this distance. And that's how I am. I would never recommend the 50K, but it sells out every year.
Awesome. The other comments we have in the chat from this evening so far are Cam Wrench, the sixth man of the nation, saying that this is probably the best beard we've ever had on the show.
No,
we'll have to pass that on.
I just shaved it, man. I just trimmed it last week. So I just, or 2 weeks ago. I've actually been debating whether I should. So my hair, I'll show you. My hair is, I don't know if I'm going to go with the hair first or the beard first. But we were debating it last week, and I think one of them needs to go, and I'm not sure which one it needs to be.
Probably the hair.
You think the hair? So you should you might be able to scope out some photos on my Facebook. But I used to have a big shaved head with a beard twice as big as this when I was in college, and I did not look very friendly. I don't look friendly now, so it doesn't matter.
I think you look friendly. We can to come up and talk to you, drinking some good beer, hanging out, race directing. I don't see what's wrong with that.
Just don't get on my bad side. No, I'm just kidding. That's a whole different topic.
And then one other comment I think was from the beginning of the show when Alex Ball commented, "Big old boo" on your, I think was Michigan statement, but
Oh geez, well, so he went to Michigan Tech. He was in the UP. He's an athlete that I coach, and now he's a pretty good runner. He just did No Business 100, which is an amazing race. If you're ever looking for a 100-mile race that really supports the runners, check out No Business. It's awesome. He did it last year, and they changed. What's cool about that race is they change directions every year. So he got the belt buckle going one way, and now he's going to come back and do it going the other way, which he says it might be easier. So yeah.
There's a lot of people who love that race, and I think that's the one that I'd love to do in the future someday. One thing that I've kind of just realized, just kind of talking to you and the kind of the way that you kind of talk about other races, I think it's refreshing. And a lot of other race directors may not have this philosophy, but the way that you kind of go about it and you talk about other races, like you mentioned Brandon Thrower's race up at Table Rock Ultras and other races now, I feel like you kind of I genuinely enjoy the trail running community, and you kind of don't see it as competition, because I think you can all grow together. Is that a fair statement, or how do you kind of?
So I mean, look at it this way. There's over 16 million road runners every single year, and their trail runner group in general, like some of the polls that I follow, has doubled every 3 years. So let's think about this in 3 years from now. Can my Table Rock double? No, it's sold out. It's at capacity. So we need to encourage more race directors to be on the platform, to be able to present runners to get off the road and enjoy some of the intimacy that trail running provides. Obviously there's race directors that don't like me, and that's fine. And there's, it's part of the game. And I probably used to be like that. I used to be very selfish, but you know what? I got a wife, beautiful kids. I got a roof over my head. I got food in my belly, I got beer in my gut. I don't have time to deal with some of the things that other people have to worry about. So my concern is, what can I do with the community around me? We have built the Scum Club up to over 1,800 members. And not numbers, I don't give a care about numbers, but they feel like they have a home when they come to one of my races. When they wear my jersey, and not even my jersey. I mean, Eric Brumbelow, he's the one that came up with he just texted me one night when we were both drunk, and he goes, "Hey man, I was thinking about your races. You should come up with a club, and it should be the Scum Club, South Carolina Ultra Marathon." I'm like, all right, that's freaking awesome. Let's do it. So Eric, kudos to you. He comes to my races. He's got the little Van Do It action going on, but no, the community, it's gotten closer to the point where it's not even it's like, oh, hey, I haven't seen you since the last race. It's more like, hey man, how's your kids? How's the family? Hey, I heard your mom got cancer. It's a family. It's not even a community anymore. It's a family. So that's what I think about it. And so when I shed light on other RDs, it's because they had brought me in and showed me the same kind of community that I hope to represent in the state of South Carolina, and also in the Southeast. We got club members from all over 6-7 different states, so probably even Ohio. So
that's a super refreshing answer, and that's honestly probably one of the most unique answers I think I've heard on one of our live shows so far. Is just kind of like I said, giving other race directors, kudos, and kind of realizing that you guys are all kind of coming together for the same greater purpose. And I think that's just super awesome. One thing I'm super curious about and would love to kind of dive deeper on is, what is the trail community like in South Carolina? Obviously, you were not from South Carolina originally, but you've kind of fallen in love with the community, and you've kind of grown it a ton, I'd imagine, over the past couple of years. But what is it like to someone maybe coming into South Carolina for the first time to do one of your races?
Yeah, I mean, I think and every state is different. Every park system is different. Sometimes I'm jealous of what the West can do with their races. When you have wide open 1,000,000-acre parcels of land to do point-to-point races, and just ask a couple farmers hey, can we run through your trail? Sure, great. But over on the East Coast and the Southeast, everything is really condensed. So as far as my race is concerned, I can really only get away with doing 25K loops, 15.5-mile loops. So when I do a 50K, most of them are Harbison 50K is a 2-lapper, Table Rock is a 2-lapper, Paris Mountain is a 2-lapper. A lot of my races are 2-lap events, which sometimes deters people away, but like in essence, like I can't. There's nothing else I can do. Everything is just a little bit different. So with that and the course description also comes what comes with the participants. So in a point-to-point race, I've done point-to-point, you've done point-to-point. I've run a race and said, hey, look, there's 15 people that finished ahead of me and 15 people that finished behind me. All of them are fairly elite or upper runners. Well, see you later. I'm going to take a shower. And that's it. You're just done. But when you do a looped race, there's an intimacy where you finish your loop and it might be a 4 loop or 5 loop or whatever. And then all of a sudden, there might be a bunch of people that that are only starting their 3rd of their 5th loop. And they're just kind of going around, hey man, I'm gonna see you in a couple loops, save me a beer, save me a burger, hang around, whatever. It creates an intimacy that I think is needed in the sport of endurance running that you don't really see in road 5Ks. And it's not that you don't see that in point to point. I mean, like, you look at like Jason Green, he puts on a pretty epic, a couple races where people are like, we're staying all freaking night and we're gonna, hang out and drink beer and meet all the runners. But it's hard in other races, like where, if it's, the climate's not right or the environment's not right, people run, they grab a beer and then they're out of there and they don't see anybody else finish. So we're just trying to find an equal balance between competitiveness and the course access and beauty, and also the community. So if I can mold all them into one, like that's what I'm looking for.
I mean, that seems like the perfect strategy there to kind of like mold them all into one, like you mentioned there. Obviously, you have a ton of races. I can't even count how many races you have.
It would take us an hour.
I'm not going to try to name them all. You can find them on the list at upstateultra.com. But I'm kind of curious on if you had to pick one race, people are trying to figure out like which one of your races to do. Maybe pick one that's maybe the most like challenging. Another one's like the most scenic, and another one's like the most runnable. Like someone just going to just go super fast, and maybe try to parse it out.
Can I pull up my races real quick? No, so I would say the most scenic is definitely Table Rock. Like it's you're on the 2nd highest mountain, and it's got this beautiful it's a table rock, like a table, and you can see as far as the eye could see. That might be the most scenic route. The most challenging. Some people would say Carolina Reaper, and me and my buddy, actually my coaching mentor and business mentor, Tom Clifford, that are with that, we were just drinking beer, and I go, dude, we got to come up with something hard, like something stupid hard. And this is we kind of I kind of tore out a page out of like Tim Laws down in Beaufort. He did the Homestead 50K, which is like a 10 by 5K. And then Noah puts on the Peyton Whacking Wild 5K, which is down in Charleston area. I'm like, well, I know they do that for a 50K. Let's do it for a marathon, but let's pick the worst possible opportunity. So we started the race at noon in July down in South Carolina, and we call it the Carolina Reaper. And so Carolina Reaper peppers are made obviously in Fort Mill, which is about an hour drive. And so that race might be the most challenging. So I would go Table Rock for scenery and Carolina Reaper for like, you're just going to just sweat and die. But you know what? It's cool because if you're a decent runner, you get rest time in between and you social. I mean, this is all kind of post-COVID. This past year was kind of weird with COVID and stuff, but post-COVID world, Snowbird and Carolina Reaper are the best races, I think, for challenging yourself at an ultra distance, but also getting to know what it's like to be around, because everybody starts and finishes at the same time. So the 50K starts first, the marathon starts 2 hours later, the half marathon starts 2 hours later, and then the 10K starts 2 hours later. Everybody finishes the last lap together, and it turns into like a 400 person just like celebration of we did it. Whatever we chose to do, we freaking did it. And then everybody drinks beer and we have a live band and all kinds of cool stuff afterwards.
Yeah, some beers and live bands after races.
Oh, dude, I haven't been to a concert in freaking Jesus, it sucks.
Yeah, I'm on that same page. Drink some beer and listen to some music after a race, and I'm probably real happy. I want to take a quick breather here, or take a quick breather here while I remind everyone, if you haven't subscribed to us and you think we've earned it and you like what we're doing, go ahead and subscribe. And I'm going to challenge all the people watching tonight to share this with a friend. So, you're all, Matt's all here talking about community and whatnot and getting the word out and spreading stuff around. So share this, share what he's talking about, share his message with a friend. And then I'm going to let Wesley get back into the next set of questions.
Yeah, all my scum members, you better freaking subscribe and share this stuff because stop. I don't know what you guys watch on YouTube, but my stuff sucks. So you might as well watch something good when you're on YouTube. So watch these guys.
We actually had a comment earlier that says, who said it? Oh, I can't find it. Where's it at? Where's it at? Someone was talking about your videos are awesome.
My background has changed. I used to do it in my office, and now I'm trying to do it in my workout room because we actually have decked out our workout room. But well, thank you for the
Marie Myers says Matt's videos are very helpful.
All right, okay. They are. I mean, I do informational videos instead of racing lives.
So Ridge Runner Nation, they're a pretty passionate group of people. Obviously, if you subscribe, they're always trying to figure out, new race directors that we have on, new people. There's like all about the people that we kind of have on. And so we'd love to kind of hear what your YouTube channel is. So everyone in Ridge Runner Nation can kind of go over there and subscribe as well. So what is it?
Do not come to my channel. No, so I will say this is like legit. This is the truth here. So typically what I do is the week of a race, I do a 10 to 15 minute video like, hey, where do you park? Where do you go? What time does the race start? What do you expect? Etc. And it helps a lot of our runners, especially our first time runners, especially this past year when everyone's like, I'm a roadie, what do I do? And but no, recently I'm like, you know what? I've got a little bit more time on my hands. People want to know what I do day to day. So I've been posting videos like every other day of like what I do, like what is it to be a race director? Like, what do just people are interested, and I try to have a positive spin on everything because this world is just shit sometimes. So we need to have some positive people out there. And I think I'm one of them, even though we all have our own issues and have our own problems. I truly believe this. We can choose to be happy. We can choose to be positive. So that's what I do. I'm hoping that is our page in my YouTube channel as a coach, as a race director, as a timer, as a, just a supporter of the community. So, yeah.
Yeah. And I really love that comment. Like, you can choose to be happy because, there's so many things happen to many of us that we have absolutely no control over. But just do what you can. Yeah. Be happy. You can control at least how you respond to something. So,
that's the truest thing is like, you can choose to be another shit person when someone's shit to you, but like, why? There's no point. Like, you're not solving anyone's problem. So like, I mean, I've been on the other end of that stick where like I did something like, why in the hell did I do that? Like, there's no point in me even saying that or thinking that. So yeah, man, 2021 is a new year. Let's freaking roll with it. Let's do something crazy. Let's be humans again.
Yeah,
all about it. And one more time, what was the name of your channel for?
Do you think I know that answer? I just started this like a week and a half ago. Okay,
we'll put it in the description of this video afterwards. Maybe someone in the chat can help us out. But it'll
you know what? You think I know when my races are? Come on. I got one every 20 minutes.
Yes. That's very fair. And the one thing that's super interesting is because I think there's a new generation of race directors that's also kind of coming into the sport. I don't think you can kind of be the race directors that David Hortons of the world, Lazarus Lake, when they came into the sport, they didn't have to worry about social media as much because it wasn't as important. But now it's so prevalent, I think, and it's so important for runners to see your face on a video and kind of interact before you even get to the starting line. How do you think you've helped kind of make that transition and kind of come to that realization that, hey, it's actually important for me to kind of create additional content outside of just putting on races?
I think I do it just to make my message clear, but I don't think it's needed. I mean, it's hard, man, because like the guys like David Horton and Laz, like they have done something that transcends what the sport is, and they've made a community without even thinking about ultra running and trail running in general. I guess my generation is more concerned with efficiency. When my mind goes to efficiency. How can I be efficient with my time? People, and this is just a general statement, people that work today are 60% more efficient than their previous generation, but they're also working 10 to 15 hours more than they're working 55-hour work weeks, but they're also more efficient. So I think there's something to be said about like the idea that I don't think it's necessarily needed in our sport. I just think whatever your viewpoint is or whatever your message is or whatever your direction is, if it's so clear, I think you can transcend all the social media. I'm not good in front of the camera. I'm not good in front of the microphone, the megaphone, and the emails and all that stuff. So, but I do it because I know our generation is used to it, and I think we're kind of moving towards that general direction. So I'm trying to get on board with it. But I think guys like Laz and Tim, or I'm sorry, who was I thinking of? Yeah,
David.
Yeah, David. I think they've gotten to a point in their career of race directing that they don't need any of that stuff to be successful. And I hope some of that stayed. I kind of hope what they're doing, that stigma of just the grittiness of racing. And Shannon, she could tell you, she's done all of David's races, and I see his posts and I follow him, and there's a lot of guys that I follow and I have a lot of respect for. But I am young enough that I understand where the sport's going, so I kind of have to kind of part ways with my old school, like, hey, just suck it up and do the course. If you get lost, deal with it phase. And then also the hey, I want to finish your medal at the end of this 50K. What do you got for me, dude? Phase. So it's a fine line for me. And so I don't know. I think I don't think I'm handling it well because I want to stick with my old school roots, but I am handling it enough to have to transition the business model to be on YouTube. And I just did this, this past couple of weeks where I'm like, hey, YouTube. I'm on YouTube more than most people. And I'm like, holy shit, this is no one owns a TV anymore. Everyone's getting all their information from YouTube. So like, I better freaking do something. So it's kind of I'm forced to do it just to kind of keep up with the times. And I'm not that old. I'm 33 years old. So, but I understand. The nostalgia of paper registration, showing up to a race the day of, hey, I'd like to do this 50 miler. Can I sign up today? Nobody does that nowadays. No, everyone's got pre-registered. Where's the pre-race information? Where's the pre-race packet pickup? Where's the, it's just a different world that we live in. And I'm trying to get involved in it, and I want to be better as a race director. But I don't hold weight with the guys of David Horton and Laz. Like they've set the standard, and the rest of us are trying to hold it, but also transition to this new idea of what it is to be a race director, an effective, successful one in 2021.
Yeah, that's quite the answer there. I love that one. We have another question from the chat coming from Eric Anderson. It says, is there a place that you want to have a race, but you can't get permits for, or can't have the race there for other reasons?
This is like an insight. This must be like an insight question. So obviously, if you're familiar with our area, there's a trail called the Foothills 77. It is 77 miles from Table Rock State Park all the way to Oconee State Park, and it is the most beautiful trail system that I could ever imagine. I'm not trying to like boast and brag about it, but it is it's better than anything I've ever been on. And you can't get permits. So you're crossing over, not only it dips into North Carolina a little bit, like literally for like a mile. It crosses over 3 counties, DNR, private land, Duke Energy, 3 state parks. If you wanted to cut that amount of red tape, it just never would happen. And I've talked to the people about doing it, and it just didn't work out. And then I was reminded by, this is the sentimental value of ultra running. I was reminded by some of the old timers that hey, the Foothills Trail is a very intimate and secretive and desolate place that we like to find alone time. They told me, don't do a race here. Like, let people explore it on their own. It's fine if there's never a race that covers the Foothills 77. And I thought that was kind of, so when somebody told me that, they said it in a way that was respectful, because they knew that I'm a race director looking for races to put on. But when they said that, I kind of, and these guys were 40, 50 years older than I am. I'm going to say that, 30 to 40 years older than I am. And I thought about it for a while, and I said, you know what? As much as I would love to put on the Foothill 77, it's not worth the history and solitude that has brought that trail system, um, uh, memories and happiness to a lot of individual runners that live in the upstate. As much as I want to bring runners from out of the area to the foothills, which is a beautiful trail system, it's just not, explore it on your own. So that's kind of my advocate. You don't follow my channel. Just go, if you live in the surrounding areas, come down and visit, stay at a state park and explore the foothills. It's a beautiful, beautiful trail system that extends 77 miles long, and it's epic. It could be one of the best ultras ever that'll never be ever.
I know, because I lived in Charlotte for a little while, and I kind of knew there's a couple events there, like I forget, Piscata, Mitchell, Prisco, whatnot. There's like a bunch that kind of, it seems like a similar kind of deal where it would never be an official event, but people go out in groups and kind of accomplish the distance, and it's super epic. But like, I mean, does that kind of happen with the foothills? And I guess like
there is, yeah. There's a group. I think they called themselves the Badass motherfuckers. If you finish the Foothill 77, you record it on Strava, you send it in, we'll send you a cool ass wallet that says Banff on it. And there's a group, right? It's an unofficial group. And I think I respect that group enough to just leave it at that. Like, let them do their thing. I think that's pretty amazing. We love that we have races kind of on either end, like Jones Gap and Table Rock and whatever. But I think that trail system needs to be kept the way it is, to be honest.
I want to dive a little bit more maybe into that, and maybe like just for the reasons, because like I could see both sides of it a little bit, and I could see the side of like, if you put on an event there and it's one day, one weekend a year, like does it really take away from the rest of the people exploring it solo? Would it increase traffic to the area and maybe damage the area that people are concerned about? Like I'm more interested in seeing like maybe what that is like in your thought process.
I think you pegged it on the head. So like so that's my argument is that no, it would definitely not damage the area, overuse the area. It would do nothing to the area. But I think there's one small, like, we just live in a different world. I think there's something to be said about when someone older than you and more miles than you says something, you just listen and you just kind of, you take it in. And I've been so hyper speed about the way I do things in my life that I'm trying to slow down. So when I get feedback from experienced runners that are 20 years, 30 years, 40 years older than me, that come to my events and say, we love what you do, we're so appreciative. But when it comes to the Foothill 77, like leave it be. I listen because, that's just what you do. It's what you do. And I think that I respect it enough to just follow it. And someone might come along and say, hey, we're going to do this race. And I'm like, you know what? If you can pull off all the red flags and cut all the red tape and do it, great. If not, I'm here to help. But at the same time, like, I have been out there by myself and I've never had any greater experience, just being out there. It's a wonderful trail system. So I mean, we all have that trail that we get lost on, and just us, and it's so fantastic. The Foothill 77 for us, that segment of trail is that's what it is for us. We just want it to be private and our own, and that's just the way it is.
Respect that. Moving into our quick questions, our fun questions for the evening. Let's start with I think I want to start with one of my favorites. And I'm going to do the ultra running walk-up song, because that's one of my favorites. If ultra running had walk-up songs like baseball, what would yours be?
So I put Thunder and Lightning by We Were Promised Jetpacks. And I only say this is it's a crazy story. So I had just done my first 50K, right? And I got home and I'm like, dude, that was the most exhilarating. I've never done a 50K. I've never done a marathon. I've only ever done a half marathon. Just like there's a high school racer than a college racer. We do like 10Ks. So I finished the race. I got home. I go, this was like, I'm in. Whatever this is, I'm in. I'm just like Googling all the races. All right. Then all of a sudden, like, the movie Born to Run came up, and like this race out in the Tarahumara land. So like I started Googling that and YouTubing that. And this video comes up with this guy like, oh, back in 2008, I did the Terra 50 miler, and this is my video. And I watched it, and his background music was this song, this Thunder and Lightning song by We Were Promised Jetpacks. I'm like, this is a fucking cool one. This video is great. This race is great. This song is even better. So I posted it on my Facebook page, and my buddy Cody Chabola, who was an Ohio guy, he actually went to Athens. He actually went to OU and got his, I think his graduate. He went to Eastern Michigan rather than undergrad. He went to OU, got his graduate. And he goes, dude, they're fucking playing in Ann Arbor tonight, and we're in Eastern Michigan. This is like 5 minutes down the road from U of M. This is why I hate U of M, because we're like the sister school. And he's like, dude, they're fucking playing tonight. We got to go watch this band. I'm like, dude, that's awesome. So we dropped everything and got like 4 or 5 guys together. I'm like, we're going to watch this band. So we went and watched them. It was awesome. Like, it's so weird that I posted a video of this band that's from the UK, you know, they're from Scotland, the UK, somewhere on there, and they're somehow playing in our neighborhood that night. And I was like, I'm hooked, dude. Whatever's going on, like the stars are aligning. I love this song. This is it. So use YouTube or whatever, Google, We Were Promised Jetpacks, Thunder and Lightning. They've got a bunch of cool stuff. You might not like it. You might, whatever. If you don't, F you, I guess.
Yeah, that works. It.
Yeah, it'll be a great addition to our Spotify playlist that is just growing rapidly at this point.
It's an awesome song.
Can't wait to throw that one on there. Cam's got some homework to do tonight. But I want to talk about the next quick question is, do you have any pre-race rituals? One as a runner, and then the second part is as a race director, do you have any pre-race rituals?
Oh, jeez. None as a race director. I'm just like, my mind is scrambling, trying to figure out like, what am I forgetting? What am I forgetting? You always forget something. But as a runner, and I kind of take this, lightly, because I haven't really been a runner, racer in a while. I've been kind of, I got a 1-year-old and a 2-year-old, and my wife has been coming off on pregnancy, and she's now a sponsored elite athlete, and she's back in the game. She's like full swing, like running fast again. So I've kind of taken the back burner of running, but when I used to race, I would always take an Epsom salt bath. I'd shave my legs. I just freaking relax, just to kind of, calm my nerves. And that was kind of my thing, was like Epsom salt bath, shave your legs. Like that's just what we did in college. We always shaved our legs. I don't know if that's a thing. It's probably not a thing nowadays, but that was as a college runner and as an elite runner, kind of post-college, that's kind of what I did. And I don't do it anymore just because I'm a fat old, middle-aged, slow guy that just tries to run on the weekends, I guess.
I was gonna say, you are a road runner. That sounds about
right. I'm gonna get back there. Hey, mark my words. I'm gonna do it one of these, months or years or decades.
Well, we look forward to seeing that. Kind of going off that, do you have any post-race rituals?
Oh, gotta be beer and just beer, I guess. I mean, so I will say that my best, my favorite post-race run is coming up this weekend. No, not this weekend. No, it is this weekend. Is the Millstone 50K. I'll give them a little shout out. So Craig Marshall's puts that race on. I think the help with Andrew Ruthenbeck puts that on. It's an hour from us. They kind of encourage runners to kind of bring a chili or a soup. It could be, vegetarian, whatever. And like, I show up to that race. I've done it 4 years in a row. I think I DNF'd 1 year. I got 10th the next year. The year after that, I finally won it my 4th year. Like, I'm like, dude, fucking yes, I won the race. And as soon as I won, Craig's like, hey man, you might want to go check your car. Like, we had a couple of reported break-ins. They broke into my truck, stole my credit card, charged it for like a shit ton. It was all fine. We got it all back. But it was like, that race is awesome because Legal Remedies on tap, they're serving beer, and everyone brings a chili, and you just dabble in all the chilies after the race. So like, that's good. My post race would be like beer, something hot, hang out afterwards. I don't need anything special. I don't need pizzazz or band. I just want to talk with people after. Because most of the time you run a race by yourself. So like, why in the hell would you want to like sit there and watch a band at the end of the race? You want to talk and socialize, I guess.
Yeah, I would agree with that. The one of the other good questions that we have tonight that has probably some of the best responses we've ever it's like it's amazing. It's just a great answers. If you could run with one person in history of the world, even if they aren't a runner, and it's, assuming they could keep up with you, who would that be?
Yeah. No, I looked at that today and I was like, man, like you can run with like, anybody, right? Anybody. Like you could tell the most famous runner, the most famous athlete, the most famous writer or songwriter or actress or just famous person. And like the problem is you've already heard their story, especially the world that we live in. Like we know what they've said, like on YouTube or on their books or on their autobiography or whatever. Like I don't have a chance to talk to my grandmothers. Both my grandmothers have passed away on my mom's side and my dad's side, and they had the most life ever. And like I watched my grandmother on my mom's side pass away with on a bed, like she had cancer and she didn't make it. And then and then my grandmother on my dad's side had a heart attack, and so she was taken from us. So this is like, but they were just they had life, like they had not only life but like history and experience and just something a 6-year-old has that a 20-year-old or a 30-year-old doesn't. So if I could run with somebody and they can keep up with me or I can keep up with them, hell, I don't know. I'd run with my two grandmas. That would be cool just to hear some of the stories they had to say to just tell me what I missed or what they saw when I was growing up or about my dad or my mom or my family or whatever. So yeah, I'd talk to my grandmas or run with my grandmas.
Yeah, that's like I said. I mean, it's just so touching to hear all of the responses to that question. Always, it's just I always get blown away by them, and each person that we talk to steps it up a bit. But I love when they're like heartwarming like that.
Yeah.
You have any sponsors you want to plug or final thank yous before we get out of here this evening?
Yeah, man. So our races are very. We don't have any actual paid sponsorships. A lot of ours are kind of in-house. So we've got, Tailwind has always been great. We try and provide us with nutrition without limits. I coach for them. They provide our apparel and our coaching services. Salted Bricks is on board. All of our, local Brew 85 always gives us beer at all of our races. So yeah, like sponsorship, they know who they are. They're connecting with us on a very intimate level. But yeah, we're just kind of out there trying to make our way and doing whatever we can.
Awesome. We'll put all those links for Upstate Ultras and Without Limits and Go Green events in the description below in the video. It's been wonderful having you on tonight. You were a great guest. I loved hearing all about your stories, your background. You've got a wild history, and I love it. So with that, I think we have a show next week, right, Wes? What do we got lined up?
Oh yeah, we got something. Stay tuned.
Stay tuned. Keep it on the down low. We'll keep it on down low till our usual 24-hour post notices.
When do you guys do so when's the Backyard Ultra going to happen?
So Ohio's Backyard Ultra is set to take place March 20th.
Oh, really? So that's coming up soon.
Yeah.
So are you guys going to go live for that, I'm guessing?
We've got some, we got something in the works.
Keep going.
You got some guests?
Yeah, he's got some guests. We'll start. For anyone in the chat that's looking for the Ohio's Backyard Ultra, it's March 20th. We have got some big plans for that one, but it looks like we're joined by a guest here.
Yeah, this is Benjamin. This is my boy right here. All right, come on, go. Yeah. See you guys. Yeah, they didn't go to sleep with me. So we have our country mile, the last outlaw riding. And I know that's coming up April 9th, 10th, and 11th. And we're hoping to pull in some ringers. And there's actually Tim Laws puts on the South Carolina version of the true Backyard Ultra. We do like a 5K version where you get 45 minutes through the loop. And so we're kind of doing our own thing, part of the country mile race that we have.
Love it. I think we'll call it for the evening.
Yeah.
Thanks everyone again for taking the time to join us. Everyone's been in the chat, been super active tonight. We love it. We love when we see people in there. We'll be back next week with another show, and we'll catch you all in the next one. Bye, everybody.
Thank you guys. Appreciate having me on.